Hi, I'm Alice,
I'm Jeff.
and this is How Humans Work. So, how do humans work?
True, it's a good question. Yeah, that's what we're here to talk about, aren't we?
Hmm.
Yeah, how do we work conversations that deepen our connection to our human nature and our human experience?
Hmm. And why do we feel like we have something to say about this? I would say that for myself, I have been drawn into the healing arts and the inner world and psychology for the majority of my life. And so I have some wisdom that's been cultivated to share. I think that's pretty true for you too.
Yeah, I would say I don't have any wisdom to share. She's the wisdom holder. I'm the student. Um,
That's not true.
so we're here to engage in conversations with you that deepen our sense of what it means to be human and how we do this life journey.
So, a little bit about what brings us to this moment in our lives. We have been together since 1997. And we actually met at a peacemaking conference in San Francisco. And I think that is kind of an interesting inception for the beginning of our relationship. And there was a lot of wisdom keepers there, the Dalai Lama, including Malidoma Somé and Michael Mead and Jack Cornfield. And there was a whole youth contingent there as well. And Jeffrey and I encountered each other and had some really cool experiences. And I love that that was the beginning for us.
I feel like the ideas of our work are really about internal family systems, building the language of parts, building the language of parts awareness, rites of passage, understanding the phases of life and the different rites and moments of life, and coming into a relationship with those different things of from coming of age to finding oneself as a young adult to partnering up to family creation and that journey as well. We're on the verge of elderhood, not I don't think quite there, but so people definitely, there's, I wouldn't say we're elder teachers,
Mm-hmm.
but there's elders in the world who have been our teachers. And then there's this idea of Gen X, kind of like what the pre-digital world was like growing up in that, and then seeing how wisdom traditions were held, and now what's happening with the information age and the social media age, and how we can kind of call back to those earlier modes, pre-digitization, pre-mass social media, of what how wisdom was held, and remember that feeling in those ways, so we can maybe balance some of the imbalances of today's wisdom traditions.
Mm-hmm. I was telling the story earlier about how, doing this work has helped me realize there really has been a thread in my life since I was very young and impressionable. I would say around 12 is really when a lot of fire in the mind and kind of expansiveness started arriving for me. And it happened through literature, and then it happened through other means, including meditation, actually, from a young age. So, I was always drawn into mysticism and philosophy and inner journeying, as well as exploring the world. And, for better and worse, I don't think either of us were really compelled into a kind of a traditional path in life, like career, money making. We were drawn by something maybe more of an inner calling, I would
And
say.
wounds.
And the woundedness in
Yeah.
that, the wounds that kind of led to the gift, and so I think there's something very personal about having been worked by the world in a way that has polished that faceted jewel that you were talking about and gotten us to the place where we have something that we feel like is of value to share with other people that, has the thing that you didn't mention, for me that has been really a through line is spirituality as well, and the exploring of consciousness and beingness in the world that started for me with Buddhism and is now more in the non-dual realm. But parts work and spirituality, mythology, psychology, these are all things that we have been diving into and want to share in a way that is accessible. The other thing about our journey is that I've been licensed as a therapist for almost 20 years, and we've been raising children for around the same time. And we also got married in Mendocino in a old growth redwood grove about 20 years ago, heading on 21 now.
For us as a couple, what's alive for me is that we've been running parallel in our wisdom paths in different ways. And this desire that you've had and I've had at different times, like it could be really interesting to work together, to take our relationship experiences, both as a couple and the things that have challenged us and we've had hardship with and earned, to be able to be together for 26 years, and as parents, co-parenting and raising children and seeing the kids around them, and our work, mentoring kids, you doing therapy with kids, me leading rites of passage with youth. You've also led rites of passage work with youth. And then just as our own journeys as people who are been through our teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and now we're in our 50s. And those things coming together as a project and a conversation around human nature, right? So
Absolutely.
those two things seem exciting, and those feel like probably what are most alive for me right now. And then bringing this into, storytelling, into myth, into mysticism, into psychology, relationships, parenting.
And biology, we add that to the list too.
Totally.
Yeah, we're both super interested in the biological map that we all exist in here on planet Earth. You know, you are writing a book on this very topic, and I love, one of the great pleasures in my life is being in conversation with you about the ideas that come to you. And you're also a poet, and so I love the depth of thinking about human nature and the way that you relay that through spoken and written word. I really appreciate that, and I'm excited to be in conversation with you.
Yeah.
And share some of that with other people.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're an imaginal primate.
Yeah.
So coming from the ground up. That's actually a really good practice, is to look at instincts and motivations as arising out of the biological platform rather than deficient energy from heaven or a lower form of sky energy or whatever those lower mythologies are. And I think it's a way to reconcile our relationship with our biology. And so for me, one of the most important kind of missions that are in there is to come to make peace with our biological experience, make peace with that aspect of our nature, not be at war with nature or human nature. And I think honoring the primate operating system in us is one way of beginning to do that.
Totally. I mean, I'm a psychotherapist, and so I work with people with emotions all the time, and the battle that people have with their own emotional worlds and feeling like, they can't quite get a handle on it or control it. And there's wisdom, there's evolutionary reasons that we have our emotions, and we can come to peace with that. And again, parts work can be such a beautiful tool that is imaginal, and very embodied, that we can find more harmony.
Yeah, I think that's the gift you gave me a little bit through Rory, but I think more through you was just the doorway of parts work, like, hey, I think we were at a Valentine's date and sitting in a hot tub, and I was struggling, and you're like, you can work with this. And I'm like, I don't want to talk with you about these things that are deep inside me that I'm not even comfortable with myself. And and you started holding space. You remember that night?
Yeah, I totally remember.
And so that was like the first doorway of like, oh, I could start, instead of managing these thoughts, these feelings, these modes inside me and containing them, I could start relating with them.
Yeah.
So it's been
shift.
I think that was probably Anyways, 4 or 5 years ago, and also the attachment stuff through Gordon Neufeld and kind of the parenting relationship and the stability of adults to youth is something that your path has also taught me. But the other one is opening the door to the parts of ourselves and not just naming them or acting them out or wishing them to be different, but really coming to terms with them and having a system, the internal family systems model, that allows us to access and relate with the subtle voices inside us.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our teachers of biology, an instinct and emotion.
Social mammal.
Yeah.
Hi.
And, since then, I think both you and I have helped introduce a lot of people to how they're being in relationship with themselves in a new way and being in relationship with their parts. And so I'm excited to share some of that system on a wider platform because it is really, I think it is part of what is going to help human beings really be in harmony with themselves and with each other.
One thought I do have is I'm really interested to see what happens for teenagers if they get exposed to having some parts skills and be able to relate with their parts. And by parts, we mean like sub aspects of personality that are different from one another, that have different roles and functions. What's it like when young people start to be able to work with their parts at a younger point in age rather than us when we're in our 40s? I mean, we worked with them, but not in this particular way that allows that access to make peace with them, have them be less extreme, have them less battles or conflicts inside. So I'm really excited to kind of hear that over time.
Totally. Yeah. Our daughter was fortunate enough to get exposed to parts work in her therapy. And she said it made a huge difference to look at all of the aspects of her, all of her behaviors or parts of her personality or things that she was kind of struggling with internally have a role to play. They're trying to do something for us and trying to, protect us in some way or advocate for us. And that if you can start to recognize that, it creates immediately more of a sense of peace.
Well, the thing I would say is you're invited to join us and be with us on this journey and be part of our community of conversation. So whether that's making comments on that post or YouTube or wherever you find us right now, excited to build these relationships with a wider audience because I know a lot of people are interested in their healing. I know a lot of people are interested in their health and wellness or optimizing their life or finding purpose and meaning and reconciling themselves with what it means to have, your particular, my particular, Alice's particular. We're all in that unique position of we have this one life that we know that we're living, and how do we do that well? So I'm excited for that, these relationships that are going to unfold out of this project.
Ditto. We'll see you along for the ride.